I'm going to do my best in this video to explain a concept that once I heard it for the first time, it's one of those things that you, looking back, describe as sort of like a donkey kick between the eyes. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things where once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And then you're just stuck with that understanding or that insight for the rest of your life. And it's one of those things where you have to process it to be able to kind of digest it, integrate it, and start implementing it, using it in your life. If you don't, it doesn't go away. It just sort of nags at you in the back of your mind, in the depths of your consciousness. So you're kind of stuck with either it's always going to nag you and you're going to suppress it, or you have to start really thinking it through and processing it. And I read this, this was first written about by Gary John Bishop. He's got a series of books out. And it's this idea, and I'm going to explain it. You and I, all humans, we are wired to win. Wired to win. Now, when I read that, at that time in my life, I don't think there was a single thing in my life where I felt like I was winning. Meaning there wasn't a single chapter, bucket, or area of my life at that time when I read it. So when I read it and I heard it, it's one of those things where when you hear it, you just kind of scoff at it, right? You dismiss it as positive thinking, where just be positive. But I stuck with the reading, stuck with the idea, and thought about it. I'm assuming that by this point in our collective consciousness as humanity, you're probably familiar with the idea to some extent of limiting beliefs, subconscious beliefs, right? So take the concept of limiting beliefs or subconscious beliefs and just put it to the side for a second. We're going to bring it back in a minute. If you look at your life today, in whatever state it is, the irony is that you are winning at the life that you're living today. Now, I didn't say that you feel like you're winning within the context of your dream life, your vision, your fantasies. However, you are winning at the life that you're living today. The proof is in the fact that, one, you're alive and not dead, and two, you're living the life that you're living. Now, when you think about that and sit with that, for me, where you come to realizing is that we live the lives that we tolerate. You with me? And most of us just simply go through life pretty much on autopilot with these subconscious beliefs, these mental scripts, if you will, that just run on autopilot in the background. Dr. Bruce Lipton did a lot of research on this, establishing that about 95% of our thoughts and our actions and our behavior is subconscious. And Gary Bishop mentions that in his writings and references that as well. Now, where the donkey kick between the eyes happened for me is, remember what I just said a minute ago about limiting beliefs and subconscious beliefs. So let's bring that back in. Let's say that one of your, perhaps, limiting beliefs is, I'm not good enough, because that's a pretty common one, right? Another one is, I'm not worthy of love. Another common one is, amongst a lot of people, is, I don't think I'm smart enough, right? Another one is this feeling of imposter syndrome, right? Or fraud syndrome, as people call it, which comes from usually, I'm not smart enough or I'm not good enough, and so I'm terrified of being found out. Now, check this out. You and I, we are so naturally wired to win that we successfully prove our limiting beliefs and our subconscious beliefs every single day through our decisions, behaviors, feelings that we choose to have, actions that we take or don't take, how we interpret and apply meaning to events and experiences, etc. For example, let's say that I believe that I'm not good enough. Let's say that that's my limiting belief. So then what that might look like when I go about proving that I'm not good enough, because again, remember, I'm wired to win. The way that might manifest is through things like procrastination, just constantly procrastinating. What's that going to create? What kind of impact will that have? The impact that's going to have is, obviously, I don't get things done. I don't make progress. I don't get results. I don't get outcomes. I don't see success, which proves that I'm not good enough for the success that I might say I dream of. But subconsciously, my limiting beliefs, if I'm holding on to this belief of I'm not good enough, I'm going to prove it. Why? Because I'm wired to win. We are all innately wired to win. Even if in our life, with our prefrontal cortex, we don't think we're winning at anything, you might think that your life is miserable and completely sucks, or somewhere in between, right? If over here is absolutely crushing it, winning 10 out of 10, and over here is apathetic, completely given up, life is nothing but a shit show, we're somewhere all in between that on the spectrum. Wherever you're at in life, because most of us are operating about 95% of the time on autopilot, your life reflects the limiting subconscious beliefs that are imprinted in you right now. And because we're wired to win, we're always going to win at proving what we believe. And so it'll manifest with things like procrastination. We can just consider the umbrella for that, call that self-sabotaging decisions, self-sabotaging actions, self-sabotaging habits, right? Just self-sabotage. Under the umbrella of self-sabotage is things like procrastination, temper issues, substance abuse, alcohol, drugs, right? Overeating, right? Eating emotionally, abusing ourselves in different ways. The list goes on. But all of those things are actually being used as tools to prove a limiting belief, because again, you're wired to win. Think back to Human 101, Biology 101. What is the singular chief job and focus of your and my brain? The first and foremost mission, the prime directive of the brain is keep this organism, keep this human alive. And the second thing is get this human to procreate, to continue the species. right? Those two things are innately wired into us from the day of birth. Nobody had to teach us anything. Nobody ever had to teach us that we want to stay alive. Nobody ever taught us that we want to have sex. Those two things are innately wired into us. And your brain's prime directive, the first and foremost highest priority, is keep this unit, this organism alive, get it to procreate and pass along its seed. Now, because your brain's primary objective is keep you alive, get you to procreate, you may feel miserable about some things in your life. You may be deeply unhappy with circumstances, results, experiences, and events in your life right now. Maybe in some areas, maybe in all areas, maybe in a few areas. But the ironic thing is, the life that you're living right now has worked to keep you alive. And what is the best and most predictable way to keep you alive in the future? It's to get you to repeat the past. Let that one sink in for a minute. I'll say it again. To the brain, operating on pure logic, absolutely no emotion, no personal growth, no feelings of fulfillment, no feelings of self-actualization, just pure robot logic. Our brains absolutely love predictability. The brain hates change. That's why when you go about starting something new and making a change in your life, it is so bloody hard. And it creates a lot of emotional resistance. Why? Because any change to your reptilian brain, to your lizard brain, think about this, to the caveman brain, any change played out to its worst possible scenario ends up with us physically dead. What is the prime objective of the brain? Keep you alive. Change means there's unpredictability. Unpredictability played out to its worst possible scenario, back from our caveman days, results in what? Death. All the cavemen always walk down this path. One of the cavemen decides to take a shortcut through the woods. All the other cavemen never see him again. And this happens repeatedly over and over and over again anytime anybody tries to take the shortcut, aka make a change. So the brain says, change is bad. We need to keep things predictable. That's just a very rudimentary, no pun intended, that's a very rudimentary example of how the brain plays out, what the potential implications and worst case consequences are of any change. And your and my brain doesn't know any better. So emotionally, and with our prefrontal cortex, our thinking brain, we have these desires for outcomes, goals, our vision, things we want. But the reptilian brain, the one, because you got 3 layers of brains basically, the inside of your brain, the core kernel, the kernel of your brain, the embryo of the seed, its job is purely survival, procreate. And what is the best way to make that happen? Predictability. So it's going to make sure it does everything it can to keep you from any sort of change, because the best way to predictably ensure survival into the future is to replay the past, irrespective and irregardless of your emotional and mental state and how you feel about things that you're unhappy with. Doesn't matter, because on pure logic, the prime objective being keep you alive and get you to procreate, it's working. Your life right now is working to accomplish that, because if it wasn't, you'd be dead. You wouldn't be watching this video. Do you understand the very basic caveman logic there? Okay. So understand, once you understand that, and you understand how, and you really think about how all the different things that you do or don't do are manifestations in behavior, your behavior, in order to prove that you are accurate about the limiting belief that you hold about yourself. And it could be a series of limiting beliefs. So you are wired to win. And my friend, you are absolutely nailing it 10 out of 10 right now. Whatever it is that your limiting beliefs are, your life reflects it. And you are crushing it at proving that you are right, because you are, and I am, wired to win. You dig? You smoking what I'm rolling? If you need to, replay the video, but I really want you to understand this and think about this. And I will have more videos obviously coming out, just as I've been publishing videos for a while, on what to do with this information in terms of implementing and making a change. But today I want to just leave you with this in this video, is that you are wired to win. In fact, you're wired to win so well that in spite of all the things you say you want with your thinking brain, your prefrontal cortex, you're brilliant at not accomplishing them, not accomplishing a lot of those goals and the things that you say you want because of limiting beliefs, and how good you are at proving that you're right when you agree with those limiting beliefs, or how right you are about those limiting beliefs. You're so wired to win that you're proving them correct every single day. And then what happens is that we have this $1 billion, whatever it is, self-help industry, where I feel like the majority of the time, and most of the time, the self-help solutions that are given to us are focused on the symptoms, not the root cause, the symptoms, the things that fall under the umbrella of sabotage. But if you're constantly treating just the symptoms of a root cause, which is a limiting belief, and the fact that your brain is going to try to keep you from changing, because the best way to ensure predictability and survival into the future is to replay the past. Let's say you have procrastination. You solve procrastination with some anti-procrastination book or methodology or framework. Your brain, and you are so wired to win that you will find another way to fuck yourself over. And when you solve that, you'll find another way to fuck yourself over. Do you know of anybody who's been in self-help or personal development for years, and every 2, 3, 4, 6 months, they suddenly discover a new thing that's holding them back, a new problem that they have, and then they work on that. And they're always somehow working on solving things, and they're reading all these books and listening to all these podcasts and doing all this stuff. But does their life really change? No. What's happening? They are proving their limiting beliefs to be accurate because they're wired to win. And winning for the human on a biological level is stay alive, procreate. That's it. That's the prime directive. And so I believe, from my perspective and my conclusions, that most of the self-help industry is simply helping people with symptoms, much like they say that there's no profit in solutions and solving issues. There's only profit in treating the pain in the pharmaceutical industry, right? You know, if you cure your customers, you got no customers. Kind of in that same vein of thinking, in the self-help industry, if you help somebody eliminate their limiting beliefs, self-actualize as a human, understand how a self-identity works, and then empower them with the tools needed to create their own self-identity, that human needs no self-help anymore. That is a self-actualized, self-aware entity, unit, organism that now has no limiting beliefs and can simply operate in any way at any level that it wants to. But people think, I've got an emotional problem, a procrastination problem, a feelings problem, an ex-girlfriend problem, an ex-boyfriend problem, a drinking problem, a temper problem. I mean, I could make a whole video. If I list out every problem that we as humans think we have, I could probably spend 30 minutes naming problems. What if all of those things are just clever little tools the mind comes up with to make sure that you keep winning at proving your limiting beliefs and making sure that you repeat the past, because that's the best way to prove that you're going to survive in the future, or predict you'll be able to survive in the future because you've survived the past. So therefore, if you keep the past alive, you will survive the future. There you are, winning at life, wired to win. I'll leave it there. Let you think on it. See you in the next video.